You might have heard about all of the Trump deportations to El Salvador, and now he's threatening to imprison American citizens in El Salvador as well, which very interesting. But it is a reason to talk about why this entire system even exists in El Salvador. So basically, El Salvador has a president who, since gaining power, has basically dismantled any potential of the state to challenge his rule. And his whole platform is that he rounds up random guys, not even only men, women too, old ladies too sometimes, we'll get to that in a second, on the street and puts them in prison. Literally just random people. They have no opportunity to defend themselves, there's no due process, there's nothing like that. He gives the police a quota. Like every like regional, like local police unit has a quota of arrests they have to make every day. They imprison random people, and this has been going on for years now, to the point where they no longer have enough random people to imprison, and now they are imprisoning like the grandmas of the random people and stuff like that. And obviously Trump and like a lot of moronic foreigners think this is cool and awesome. And now El Salvador's main export is going to be using their random prisons where, you know, shithole prisons where you basically get thrown into and tortured for as long as they want you to, with no idea of what you're in for, when you're getting out, or anything like that. They're exporting that for the use of other countries. So initially they claimed that this was to solve the gang problem. Bukele's thing, the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, who disgracefully is of Palestinian ancestry, his entire thing was to like, I'm gonna build these massive mega prisons, and I'm going to send out the cops to arrest any random person who I see with tattoos that they at all think are gang tattoos. And I'm going to give the cops quotas of how many people they have to arrest every day. So they start out just arresting random people with tattoos and putting them into these mega prisons with no proof at all of their gang involvement or involvement in any crime or anything, aside from the fact they have some tattoos. Eventually, they run out of people with obvious tattoos, and they start like asking random people on the street, show me your body. Do you have tattoos? You go to prison for who knows how long. They run out of those guys, and they just start like arresting random people on the street, like a street vendor with no tattoos at all. He's going to prison. He's disappeared. No one knows if he's ever going to get out or what's happening to him. He never had a trial, so, it's random. They ran out of guys like that, and they start arresting like random school teachers and stuff. And there is a pro-Bukele documentary about this, which is actually extremely good to watch to get a handle on how this shit works, because in spite of it trying to be pro-Bukele, it's very much anti-him by accident, because it just interviews random people and they show what they say, and you can't really whitewash it. Like there are ex-cops from El Salvador who have come out and talked about this stuff. Like they said, they give us quotas. If we want to get paid, we don't want to get fired, we have to arrest random guys. Like this documentary here, this is like extremely by accident anti-Bukele, anti this system. But all the comments are about how awesome this is. So this guy is a former cop who talks about like the quota system that they put on them.
Dared to denounce. Marvin has...
And I guarantee you this is 3 months old. This guy's probably in prison by now.
Worked as a police officer for almost 20 years. He is now denouncing arbitrary arrests allegedly due to quotas imposed by the government, which demanded 1,000 arrests a day throughout the country. Marvin shows us an exclusive document.
Nosotros podemos ver acá este cuadro. Aquí tenemos delegación San Salvador con 40 detenidos por día, San Marcos con 20, la delegación de Soyapango con 40. Es mucho, porque total 175.
To motivate their troops, the authorities used blackmail. If the targets were not met, the police officers were not allowed to go home to see their families. So they end up arresting anyone.
Muchos de esos no eran de pandillas.
I just want to note, this documentary is framed as extremely pro-Bukele, and this is still the sort of stuff that it includes.
Llegó un momento que los pandilleros no estaban en la calle. Bueno, nosotros vemos acá a jóvenes que están trabajando. Aquí ustedes pueden ver un joven que está preparando ahí un pan. Pues venía la patrulla, lo intervenía él, se lo llevaban para la delegación y allá le decían que iba a quedar detenido con el régimen.
Marvin resigned 3 years ago. Disgusted by these practices, he joined a union that denounces the excesses of the police.
What a great car. It's the most Latin American car I've ever seen. Well, okay, they're definitely not driving it, but they should.
El deseo de que la policía actúe de manera...
So they literally have a clip here where they were doing like a ride along with the cops to do like a puff piece for them. And the cops, needing to meet their quota for the week, find like a random like 50-year-old school teacher lady and accuse her of being a member of like one of these gangs.
Operation for these soldiers.
Cuando en realidad están decididos a morir, como dicen.
To suspect.
Ya varias, ya. Ni sabemos cuántas ya.
So in this situation, there's two people who are shown in this house. One of them is like a man. The other one is like a 30-year-old man, maybe. The other one's like a 50-year-old woman. And it's like, which one of them do you think is getting arrested here? The answer will shock you.
Since the state of emergency was declared 2 years
They
ago,
send like look at what these guys have. Look at their equipment to arrest a random lady for the quota.
the intervention squads have had full jurisdiction. They do not even need a judge's warrant to arrest a suspect.
¿Conoce usted a la señora María Marlene Portillo? Sí. Ella es su mamá. Trabajando, ahorita viene de camino. Sí, ahorita bien. Ella anda los papeles y todo.
This is the woman they're looking for, one of the town's school teachers.
Buenas.
Gracias, estaba. Si he dejado los niños encargados al vigilante.
Bueno, entonces fíjese de que le vamos a pedir de favor que nos acompañe aquí al puesto que está aquí para aclarar esta situación.
Sí. Y que, ¿cuál es la situación? Porque ayer vinieron y ya me revisaron todo también porque yo había ido a trabajar.
The police are no longer obliged to explain the real reasons for her arrest.
Again, I want to emphasize, this documentary is framed as extremely pro the El Salvador dictatorship. And this is still how it is.
Es un trámite, como le explico. Así que nos acompañe aquí en el puesto que está aquí.
So they lied to her saying that it's just an administrative procedure.
Gracias por su colaboración.
Obviously, if it was administrative procedure, she wouldn't have to go with them. She's under arrest. They never tell her that. So they get to the station, and the camera crew films them accidentally admitting that they actually have nothing on her, and they're just doing it for the sake of it.
Asks us to stop filming.
Ellos tienen otro protocolo que seguir para cuando lo concluyan, entonces vamos a ver.
One of the officers noticed inconsistencies in the suspect's file.
Comentario, hemos cantado. Aquí con 18 días de trabajo y aquí viene el equipo. No, por eso, ¿verdad? Sí me entiende, ¿verdad? Nosotros vamos a ir, como digo.
So this guy says, the file says that she's collaborating with the wrong gang. That gang is not in control of this neighborhood, so it doesn't make any sense. And they catch this on film.
El Salvador.
But there's another mistake on the card.
Ella trabaja en el servicio, para que solo se tercero.
And it also says that she's a shopkeeper when she's a teacher. So it's just, they just straight up made shit up, basically.
Mira que comienza ya. Sí, pero eso usted no. No, por eso. No, ya. Por eso. No, llévela para acá.
And then the response to this one cop who's like, this is completely wrong, is we've arrested her. You know, we have a quota. We're going to continue. We got her.
But the local policeman has his doubts. He doesn't want to commit a
You see,
miscarriage.
there's like fucking 20 guys here for this one lady because they need their quota. All of these guys need her to go home.
Of justice. So he insists.
Como le digo, nosotros solo vamos a ser remitente. ¿Me doy a entender? ¿De hablar? No, por eso.
Be careful, he's got a camera on him. So like one guy intervenes just because there's a camera there, and he's basically the only reason that she's not going to be put in a mega prison. This one guy who saw the camera and had some sense.
Porque si ella supera, ustedes van a ir a firmar el acta.
There were at least 2 errors in the file, but the teacher was taken in anyway to be presented to the investigators.
Oh, never mind. She was actually taken into the detectives. Great.
Her sister, who has just arrived at the police station, is in shock.
Ella no anda en nada. Hace muchísimos años que ella trabaja. Y no sé por qué la han detenido. Ella es una persona honrada, trabajadora.
Es un error para dos.
Pues sí.
Guilty or not, the teacher could remain in prison for 2 years, the maximum legal period before a first hearing.
2 years before your first hearing. Isn't that just a wonderful place? The cops can arrest whoever they want and throw them into prison for 2 years for whatever reason they want. To the best system ever. And no one knows like how long they're going to be in prison for. No one knows when, if they're even going to be released. So what ends up happening is the family members like go outside the prison. All they know is like where they're being held. They don't know anything else but that. So they go outside the prison and they just every single night, and they just hope that that night their family member is going to be randomly released.
Other families who, like her, are hoping for the release of their loved ones. We follow her with a
They
discreet
have literally
camera.
no information about what's happening at all.
Ya no trata de usted. Ayos en kami, cuando tuve un best on him. De verdad, ay, guys. Y cuando se le hace how the wife sees.
Each time Maribel cherishes the hope of seeing her son again, some prisoners start to leave. Most were men at the end of their sentences or arrested without any evidence.
Just one note as well, obviously this regime can only exist because of the US in the first place.
Mira qué barbaridad.
¿Qué pandillero va a ser? ¿Quién va a ser el señor? ¿Qué pandillero va a ser?
A policeman comes out of the station and calls out the names of the other men who are about to be released. In total, 15 are released this evening, but no joy for Maribel.
So, this is basically the system that Trump is trying to take advantage of. This is like the only thing that El Salvador is known for now, aside from their abortive effort to implement Bitcoin as the national currency. Haven't heard about anything about that since. I wonder why. It might have been an abortive attempt, because. But this is the system that a lot of right-wingers praise, and this is the system that they're basically selling. Do you see these people who we throw into prison for 2 years without even a hearing, with no evidence of any guilt or anything, just because the cops have to meet a quota, into a prison with horrible, terrible conditions where everyone is beaten up and tortured? Don't you just want your criminals to be, or random people you're deporting to be in this prison as well? Well, pay us money and we'll build prisons to put your guys in as well. Like El Salvador is like a prison colony now, basically, for its own people and for foreigners. And yeah, there's a little taste of that reality. And even if you're a foreigner, you should not go to El Salvador, because there's nothing stopping them from doing the same thing to you.